Oh, wow. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, as promised in the month of April, the first ever episode of Heard and Healed. And I'm extremely nervous. I'm overwhelmed. And um, I'm filled with joy to be able to express this side of me with you guys, with the people that this journey and this message and the whole experience will reach. And I truly hope you guys can um, resonate with Heard and Healed and the journey that we take you guys on. Um, yeah, but with that being said, I'm sitting with my co-host, the wonderful Joshua Waitman. And before he even introduces himself, I want to give you guys some background on this gentleman, and the impact that he's had on my life and the reason why we're here today. Um, give you a little background, just of how we met. We met through work, um, and I saw him around the job for about a week or two, and we had little to no dialogue. But he would speak with other coworkers that I work with, and I tell stories for days. So I'm gonna be very brief, and I hope you can you get the, what is the word I'm looking for? The bulk of the whole interaction. So um, I was always curious about the conversations and the the dialogue he would share with my other coworkers. But one day he just approached me and he goes, "We haven't connected, but I feel like we will connect soon." And we were complete strangers. I did not know how to respond. I didn't know how to take that encounter. I've never had anybody say that to me. So at this moment, I kind of nodded my head and I'm like, okay. And then he walked off and I was just like, hmm. So I left that day thinking, like, when I come to work tomorrow, the next time I see him, I had this expectation of there has to be a connection, or why do I feel disconnected from this energy, or why am I disconnected from this energy? And then lo and behold, we connected. Obviously, we're sitting here shooting the first episode. Um, Aside from that, a little bit on the journey. I've been, playing football for 20 years, and the goal has always been about playing football and, reaching the youth and reaching the community. And Josh has assisted in my journey and also meeting me at my professional journey and allowing me to, be my true self and grow into myself so I can have a greater understanding of what it is I want to accomplish and how I get to that accomplishment. Um, and finding understanding in that we all might be searching for. Um, Great father, um, great person, great, just great in the community, a great listener, a great speaker, and most importantly, a great vessel for our Lord and Savior to be using. So that's Joshua for you guys. How you doing today?
Feeling great, thank you.
So what does, before we jump into anything, that I want to give them the bulk and the meaning of the name Heard and Healed.
Mm,
How you held me accountable when I presented this idea to you. You held me accountable. You've never been, we always hear this yes man mentality. you've never been a yes man towards anything that I've ever presented to you. You've always lended an open ear, but if there's something that you don't agree with or you might have a different perspective, for one to have a greater human experience and connecting with real people to have real experiences in real life. So when I presented the herd, and it was healing at first. About 5 minutes ago, it's now heard and healed. And I'm gonna let you share with everyone how this resonates with you and how you feel connected to the name of our series, Heard and Healed.
When JP first brought that to my awareness, I felt in for a moment, and it felt both very natural and it also felt a little outdated. So I connected with my intuition and I felt in, because this is not my story, this is not my journey alone, this is JP, and we're co-creating this with each and every one of you. The concept of heard, when I first connected with JP, before I said a single word, I was listening to his heart, not what he was saying with his physical words. No matter what you would say, I would feel if that resonated with your truth. So for me, part of, at least in this episode, part of the concept of heard means that before a word is spoken, we're already heard. The prayers have already been answered. So heard isn't something that's happening or going to happen, it's something that has happened. The concept of healing and healed. In relation to this series, what feels most resonant is healed. If somebody says, I am healing through something, they're acknowledging to their body they're not already healed. But whether we research religious or other ways of certain beings who have showed us how to move beyond, and some call it miraculous healing, is basically realizing what has already happened. So by saying that we are healed, we're basically telling our body it's done, and then the body will catch up with it. That's not saying that we don't have issues and we're constantly evolving and growing. It's just when the deeper part of us, when we really connect with our truth, there's nothing broken. There's nothing wrong with us. We're complete, we're whole, we're everything. And so at our truth, we are already healed from everything. We're just remembering. And we're playing out what some call a story and some call an evolution. But if we give ourselves a moment and really feel in, and we say, I have this addiction, if it feels, I hesitate to say wrong or bad, but if it feels like it's constricting, like if it doesn't feel good when you say it, that means it's not true. It's not the truth. And when you say, I am healing, if that's a little bit easier to say in the moment, that's okay. But eventually we get to the real truth of, I'm already healed. I'm already whole and complete. I'm just letting God, or I'm just letting higher intelligence play out this role. Because we're learning, we're growing in certain ways.
Yeah.
So for now, heard and healed has a beautiful vibration and energy with it for those who resonate with it.
Before we go any further, do you have anything that you want to add or share with the people? Just about yourself and about what you represent or what you do? If not,
Sure.
Yeah.
For now, I will share this. For over 30 years, I lived in rage and anger blame, and judgment. And it was to the point where my body was literally shutting down on all levels. I was disowned by loved ones, and I was working 15 to 20 hours per day attempting to survive, and it wasn't working. So in 2009, I finally had a conversation with God. I was yelling, and I said, I can't do it anymore. My way is not working. So if you want me to be here, I need a reason and I need help. And that was it. I just surrendered because I've done everything I could do, little Josh. And I finally said, okay, there must be a higher plan. Otherwise, I'm out in 3 months. There's no way my body can handle this. And within 2 weeks, I got my reason and I started getting the assistance. I started doing the work. And then at some point within 2 to 3 years, I basically surrendered my life to God, to a higher planet, and said, I am now just a vessel. I'm a vehicle. Just make sure that I'm safe, provided for, and guided. And I spent 7 years on the road, nomadic, no license, no car, no money, just how may I serve today? And since then, I have been in service.
Wow. Okay, so I feel like it's fitting that we jump in to our first topic on the day. How do you feel about that? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So my question to you is, do you believe that you ever truly heal, or do we just forget the things that hurt us and we choose to cope with them?
I can definitely speak from my personal experience. The subconscious that pretty much runs the show. That is the one that keeps us alive. That is the one that does everything to keep us going. Whether it's real or not, if the subconscious feels danger, it will prevent something. And we can only cope so long because there are new energies entering the planet, new frequencies. The planet's vibrating faster than it has in a very long time. So we are in many ways forced to visit all outdated programs, beliefs, fears, whatever it is. The more we cope or resist or fight it or ignore it, the more our bodies are going to show us something is out of alignment. So coping is no longer working. It can only work for so long. If we stay in this world, we have this human experience. We have to eventually deal with it one way or the other. And as far as healing, this goes back to the concept of we had a real experience when, like say, when I was a child. It was a real experience for my subconscious. It really happened. But if I do not shift that belief, express what needed to be expressed, that will carry on for the rest of my life. And anything of a similar situation might be avoided no matter how much effort I put in, because the subconscious is keeping me safe based on what it knows. So are we healing? In many ways, our bodies are already healed. Healing could also be looked at it as we're remembering our truth. The more we remember our truth, the more we realize healing is just returning to truth.
Mm-hmm. I mean, some would say that. So the way I look at it, when I asked this question to myself, and I reached out to a couple other people, and everyone kind of said that you don't truly heal. You figure out ways. They say that you can the forgive but never forget mentality. Oh, I chose to forgive them, but I won't forget what they did.
Okay.
Right? And now, when people say that, this is the way that I look at it. I'm like, you're letting this person dictate how you feel to certain things that have impacted you in the life, right? Because you don't want to you say you don't want to forget, but you forgive them. When you forgive somebody, it's the expression of just moving past it and putting it behind you. Would you agree with that?
To some degree.
Yes.
Another way that it could be looked at is forgiving is realizing, what if the person never did anything wrong? What if they played a role that we were in vibrational alignment to? So the way that I look at it is I take full responsibility for everything that shows up in my life. I may not have created that car collision, but how I feel about that car collision is what brought that into my life. So forgiving for me is realizing they did nothing to me, they did something for me. It was my own inner beliefs that created that experience. They were a loving child of God or of light who was willing to participate in that. But that's not who they are. That's, for me, forgiveness is realizing there's nothing to forgive. Forgetting is I'm willing to forgive but not forget. Now we're resisting. Now we're focusing on what we do not want, and we get more of that in our life. So when somebody says, I'm willing to forgive but not forget, they haven't truly moved past it, which means they're going to continuously live in that box until they realize that that person is not doing it to them anymore, but they're still replaying that old pattern.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how I would interpret this for myself. Because when I think about like truly healing and coping with things, it just, I have so many different experiences where I can like relate to this and I can share and be like, hey, this happened in my childhood, or I decided to do this. But the one thing that's speaking to me right now and the word that's sticking out is avoid. Avoid, right? And let me share this. So, when we talk about truly healing, before I address this void that I had in my life, I was completely oblivious to the fact that it was affecting me and how I lived my everyday life. I got into a relationship that I let my partner fill roles that your partner should not fill for you, that you should feel for yourself. I got in that relationship, I put so much pressure on this person to live up to these expectations that a parent should have, been filling that role for me, right? So until I was able to address that void that I had in my life, I still don't feel healed, because when I talk about the situations, I go, this person expected me to have this figured out. And this person expected me to come to them when they're the one that hurt me. How am I ever supposed to fill this void that I have when I feel like I'm the one that's been wronged? I don't feel like I have to reach out. I don't feel like I have to show up. I don't feel like I have to be there. You're supposed to come to me and help me fix the problem that you created. And long story short, I had to have a sit down with that void, I would say, that I had in my life. And it helped because I addressed it. And I shared with a friend recently, I said, the moment we address the hardships in our life, the closer we get to figuring it out, to feeling better, and to living, to vibrating at a higher frequency once you confront those issues that you're having. And until then, you're living in fear. And when you're living in fear, it puts you in this place. You're never learning. You're never learning. If you're living in your comfort zone, you're never learning. You have to live in the learning zone. It's the learning zone is where you're still comfortable, but you're open. You're open-minded. You're open to different ideas. You're open to those ideas challenging your mindset or the way you have already wired your brain. When you're living in fear, it's like I'm set in my ways, and I don't want anybody to come ruffle my feathers. I don't want anybody to come, startle me. I'm good where I'm at. And what would you say for relationships that are struggling to get past that point of, I forgave them for this, but I will never forget it. Regardless if I chose to take them back, regardless of we have kids together, regardless of we're engaged, regardless of we just bought a car together, or we bought a house, or we have joint bank accounts, all these things in the world that we choose to blame us for holding on to things. Oh, because we always talk about our priorities or our morals or things that are important to us. And people forget that time is one of the most important things ever. And people like to value money. People like to see money as, as this high art, like has this thing that really holds a lot of weight or holds a lot of value. And we know it's not, we can't ignore that money drives a lot of relationships, drives a lot of people out of relationships, causes people to hold on to relationships because they might be afraid to walk away because they're going to feel like they won't have anything. So what do you say to those people that, oh, I will forgive, but I won't forget, but they always have this stipulation in the back of their mind. I'm holding on because of I don't have the money right now, or I can't walk away, or we've been through so much, or he was there when my parents got divorced, or he was there when my grandma passed away, or whatever the case may be. The people that are using these things, and I'm guilty of it myself. So when I say people, I'm talking about me. I'm talking about us. So I'm not anybody. When I say people, I don't mean I'm not excluded from any of this information that we're about to receive.
As you're speaking, what's coming through is the first thing I would ask them is, are they willing to start taking responsibility? Because the whole I won't forget means that there is a fear of, if I forget this, there's a fear of loss, a fear of abandonment, a fear of neglect, a fear of any number of things. So then my question would be, what are they afraid will happen if they forget or move on? I don't want to be alone. Okay, well then that's something to address. It never, ever, ever is about the other person. It's only and always about what the other person reflects. Because what I have learned in my experience is when my child does something and triggers an emotion or response, it's never about that moment. It's always because that moment triggered a memory or something in my brain or in my consciousness that allowed me to recall a different experience. It's almost like a tuning fork. It struck a chord in something unresolved. If somebody were to realize their infinite power, their deep connection with God, with Source, with all that is, they realize they are the only one that can give them that love. To look outside of ourselves for love, for value, for validation, for anything, is still disempowering. But again, not everybody's ready for that. For the people who are not ready, I would say, okay, then What is it that you are willing to do? What's the smallest step that you can take? I'm willing to start considering this idea. Okay, that's a step in the direction. But the whole concept is when I would say, I will forgive, but I'll never forget, that's because that was taught to me growing up. That doesn't mean that it's the most empowering way to go. That's just the way that it was taught to me until I realized in the present moment, when I say that, it feels conditional. And I've reached a point of pure love for all beings. So no matter what the conditions are, there's still that deep love and appreciation for them.
The first 10 minutes of I like to call it an episode.
Okay? For now.
For now, I like to call it an episode.
Okay?
But I love when people say they're in certain chapters of their lives and this is a page in the book.
Yes.
I want to find a word because chapters and pages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are contents of a book.
Okay?
And books come to an end.
They do,
They do.
unless it is an ongoing book. What if it's one of those books that have you ever heard of a choose your own adventure book? You're reading a page and it says, if you want this to happen, go to this page. You want this to happen, go to this page. You could read the same book 30 times and have a different adventure every time. What if this is a choose your own adventure? What if you're on page 55, you choose this direction, and then you go back to page 3? In many ways, you could look at it as a page, or you could look at it as one moment of infinite connection. You can call it an episode, you can call it a page, whatever that feels. It is a chapter, it is a page, it's also a moment.
Yeah.
Infinite moment of connection, remembrance.
I resonate with that because you said it when we started. You said that this is a different feeling for me because it's not like football. This is me expressing myself and being more open. And when you talked about the adventure book, I'm envisioning myself flipping through the pages, and I'm like, option number 1, NFL. Option number 2, motivational speaker. Option number 3, work with kids that have autism. Option number 4, whatever the case may be. And I feel like I flipped through those options. And when we talk about the journey, you've never expressed that journey coming to an end.
No.
You've always said, for now, or that's the way it is now. Things can always change. The energies can always shift. So when you said adventure book, I was like, okay, football. Oh, okay. Now I'm on page 5. I can come back to page 3. Now I'm going to choose just expressing myself in many different ways, and let's see where that goes, and let's see how that, So, yeah. I mean, I like that.
What if you're living every one of those pages right now?
Elaborate.
And you can choose what page. What if there's a version of you that is playing in the NFL right now? You're on the field and you just scored the winning touchdown. And in the same moment, you just birthed your first child. And in the same moment, you just went to school for the very first time. And in one moment, the same moment, you're getting married, you're walking down the aisle, or you're standing there looking at your beautiful bride. What if every one of those moments are happening right now? And this moment, you chose to focus your consciousness, so that's what you're experiencing physically. But the moment you tune in, I've got my jersey on, I just scored the touchdown, my team is celebrating, I can hear the crowd. You're literally in that reality. If you focus on it, that becomes your physical reality or something similar. So then, if you look at it from that perspective, you don't need to do it all because you are doing it all. It's just a matter of what you tune into, what feels good in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, while we're on the topic, the affirmations. I recall myself returning back to the affirmations that you created for me. Remember I told you I was at the tryout for the Las Vegas Nighthawks. And I'm sitting on a sideline and I'm like, I'm watching dudes over there play catch. They're throwing the ball. They're exerting their energy. I'm warming up. I warmed up already and I'm like, should I be doing more? Should I be doing less?
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself returning to the affirmations and I'm like, I calm myself and the affirmations calm me and I'm like, right after that, the coach called us up. And it was just kind of like a wake-up call is like whatever your heart or whatever you're guided to do it's you just have to live in that moment. And you have to you kind of I don't know, because I found myself stressing out over that moment way too much. And then the outcome, of how everything played out, it could have gone better. The outcome could have been better. Some would say, or I would even say in that moment, you know what I mean? Because obviously a phone call, playing on the team as we speak, all of those things would be great. But I'm saying, as far as, you can't be mad at the head coach or the receiver coach telling you that expect a call within 7 days. You can't walking away from a tryout, hearing from the head coach and the receiver coach that you're going to be getting a phone call. You couldn't ask for a better outcome than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that played out perfect for me.
Yes.
Now, I know things can be different for other people, but in that moment, if I had to do that again, guess what I would do? The exact same thing. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't control the uncontrollables.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say that, I can't say when I come back home, what somebody asked me, what would you have wanted more from that situation? I can't say anything other than what happened. What more do I want? The coach to pull out a contract and be like, sign right here on the dotted line, or whatever the case may be. Now in today's world, that's unrealistic. Nobody.
Which part?
The pull out a contract and sign on the dotted line.
Why is that unrealistic?
I just feel like it's unrealistic because, unrealistic for, in my mind, I say it's unrealistic because to be presented that opportunity without having basically the magnitude of the situation, becoming a professional athlete, signing a contract like that on the spot, on a grass field where I just had a tryout with 40, 50 other people, and then pulling out a contract that people sit down and look over contracts with their lawyers.
Sure. People
sit down and look over contract with their family and friends and loved ones. I couldn't imagine. I wouldn't want that to be, I wouldn't want to have been put on a spot like that under that kind of pressure, being like, hey, sign this right now, or,
They could have given it to you and said, hey, take it home, look it over.
Yeah.
We want you.
Yeah.
But if our subconscious is not used to that information, it's going to filter it out completely. You saying, I can't imagine that, maybe the exact reason it didn't happen like that.
Yeah.
So basically, When we speak and we're not thinking about it, that's usually our subconscious communicating, unless we're very present. So when you're saying that, a part of me is with you and honoring what you're saying, but the other part is like, no, I just saw him get a contract. They just handed him a piece of paper. They said, hey, go take a look at this. We'll call you in a few days. So both of them did exist. You chose the version that it did not happen. You can definitely switch. And you know what? No, I'm going to go back to that moment, not from trying to do something, but because it feels good. I just caught every single pass. I just received the compliments. Before I get to my car, I'm about to open up my door. They're handing me a paper. They said, look at this. We're going to call you. If you did that in your mind tonight before you went to bed and you were praying, and this is what your higher self or your inner truth guided you to do, you could receive a call tomorrow. It's definitely possible. So then it's about notifying and identifying what parts are still playing limited. Not judging, not blaming, not even trying to figure it out. Say, oh, that's an outdated belief. Of course I can get a contract on the spot because this is a higher purpose. It's God's will. If this is what I'm meant to do, no one or nothing in this world can stop me because this is inevitable. If this is the divine plan for me. And just talking, you might get a phone call, who knows?
Yeah.
But again, you must be ready. Otherwise, the subconscious might say, So it's about identifying what potential dangers the subconscious is protecting you from if you were to get that contract. What belief systems? Or is it just absolutely new and it's like, nope, nothing new. We're going to stick with the status quo.
Don't mean to cut you off, but a lot of people my age and also from the community that I grew up in, right? That word subconscious, they don't even know what that means. They're out of touch with it. They've never heard that word ever. Nobody's ever brought that up to them. They don't know what this means. They don't know what this feels like. They won't even get what you're saying. They won't get it. Can you explain that for us a little bit? Because I'm telling you,
Yes.
you have no idea. I'm that person.
Yes.
When I say the people I'm those people. So that word or the magnitude or the understanding of the subconscious and whether, we always say, like your thoughts and the words that you speak, are different. You can think something, but be careful and be slow to speak it, right? Now, touch on the subconscious and maybe add a little bit of your thoughts, how that can affect the subconscious, and then the words that you say.
For me, in my experience and the people that I've assisted along the way, for a very long time, we would call it inner child healing. So for people who didn't quite understand the concept of subconscious that, runs the heart and runs the different organs and everything, I would have them imagine the inner child. So when we're very young, the first few years of life, kind of like when you're out in nature, you're learning how to survive. You're learning what works, what doesn't work, why, everything. So depending on the majority is the upbringing, the inner child takes that as truth because it's surviving. And then when you reach an average between 6 and 8 years of age, for the most part, now both sides of the brain are operating, and it's no longer about, I need to pay attention to everything to survive. Now it's on autopilot. So what I do is I remind people that the subconscious does not know separation. It does not know time. It does not know negative words. So when we say don't drop the dish, subconscious says, yeah, but you focus on dropping the dish. So that's what we'll do. And that happened a lot during my childhood. It doesn't know separation. So when you're speaking to somebody else, your subconscious, you're speaking to you.
Yes. I know this thought will stay with you. But when you said, don't drop the dish,
Yes.
and your subconscious doesn't even hear the word,
It looks
don't.
at the picture.
Exactly. I used to think that same thing with football.
Yes.
Don't drop this pass.
Yes.
I used to do punt return. For people that play football, you know, punt returning is one of the scariest things in football. You're back there by yourself catching the pigskin. And there's 11 grown men, or even in high school, young men or whatever, running at you. And you have to depend on, there's a lot of factors that the height of the ball and people are
spin,
the
the
other side of
trajectory.
it. They're being trained to keep the ball high in the air and
Yep.
make the travel time as long as possible, so you don't have enough time to react and catch the ball. And then so knowing that things are against you, especially doing punt return, I'm back there and I'm thinking, oh, don't drop the ball, don't. I'm not even worried
Yes.
about getting hit by a potential 250-pound guy that whatever that might who knows what he did before the football game. But I'm not even worried about that. I'm like, don't drop the ball, don't drop the ball. This is more important.
Yes.
And then by the time it gets there, there's a few drops that happen in between that time. And then sometimes you just walk up and you get tired of saying, don't drop the ball, don't drop the ball. And then you just walk up and you're like, I've been playing football for 15 years up till this point. Let's just do it. And then you get up there and you catch the ball. And you don't even realize that, but there's been times where I'm like, don't drop the ball. And, I end up dropping it.
And the thing that a lot of people are just now beginning to remember is when we say don't or can't or not, our system is weakening. We shrink our energy. We're more fragile. Not only are we in fear-based mode and survival mode, we're not thinking clearly anymore. Our brain is not receiving the right nutrients. The blood is not going to the right areas of the body. So when you say don't drop the ball, not only are you focusing on what you do not want, you're also you have a weaker field of energy. So the other thing with that is I remind them that there is no separation. There is no time. When we speak like I'm speaking to you, my subconscious mind thinks it's speaking to itself. So whatever I say to you, it's taking internally as well. And then the other part is it doesn't know time. If something happened when somebody was 5 years of age and it was unresolved, it's going to carry that all throughout their life. And it's going to play in the background, but it won't come to the surface until the subconscious mind feels the person is ready to deal with it. And then all of a sudden it's like it popped up one day. So I'm very careful when I communicate with my child who's now 6 years of age. His entire life, it has every single time always been focusing on what we would like to happen instead of the opposite. When he hears somebody say, don't do this, he's like, oh, that's a lower energy. Could you rephrase that? Because he already knows that. So my own journey, when I finally found my reason for staying in this world or for my purpose, I imagined that there was an inner child, little Josh. And little Josh was maybe 4 or 5 years of age. And little Josh experienced a lot of trauma growing up. Without blame, without judging, without anything. That's just the story that I chose to experience. And he didn't trust me at all. Like I would imagine a little child sitting in a room. I would walk in the room and just sit down because I didn't want to scare him. He didn't trust me at all. He didn't even want me to look at him. I finally realized why is because from his perspective, the inner child's perspective, I let other people hurt him and I personally ignored him. When I started listening to that child and start telling it what to do, but just listening, all of a sudden he told me what he needed to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel whatever it is. So all the stuff that I did not get as a child, whether it's love, abandonment, because I am adopted, anything that I experienced as a child, I gave that child everything that the other people did not give me until I completely feel whole and complete myself. Now, I don't seek love outside of people because I give that love to myself. They simply reflect it. So the subconscious, for some people, it could be like an inner child, where once that inner child feels safe to be themselves, they shine bright. And there's more to it that people can research about subconscious, but it's a pretty good start.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I remember you were talking about being in the space that makes you the most happy.
Okay.
Would you kind of say like that's the subconscious? You said that it's like being a child, where just like say somebody goes and works a construction job for 10 hours, and then you see them at the job and they might not be having the best time. You know what I mean? And then they might also play basketball, and then you see them on the basketball court and they're happy, energetic, and you would say that that's not, I don't know if that is or the subconscious, but you would say that's kind of like what the subconscious is.
What I would say is,
in simpler terms.
Yes.
I'm trying to like bring it back to where like, okay, the subconscious doesn't know negativity, or it doesn't know the word no, or it doesn't know don't do this or don't do that. It's like, it's basically like you being a child all the time, or you being happy, or what would you say to that? Like going to work a job where you might not be happy, but then also then seeing this person doing something that they love.
I would say that the quickest way to shift a subconscious belief is communicating with somebody when they feel safe and not in survival. When they're on the basketball court and they're shining and they're playing and they're having fun, their subconscious is open for new information. When they're present, when they're in prayer, meditation, about ready for sleep, again, they're open. When they're at the job site, they're more in survival mode. They're not healing as fast. They're not receiving clear information. They're not sending out clear information. So they're more, it is a higher potential for growth, expansion, healing, as we say, when they're doing things that they love.
Yeah. That was...
Why did you get that information? Because you were in the moment. The more present we are, the more connected we are to that higher intelligence or higher expansion, higher awareness.
And it played a part. Got to the amusement park 2 hours and 30 minutes before close, and I kept telling myself, I'm like, it's only 2 hours and 30 minutes left. Nothing's gonna ruin this. I'm gonna get the best out of it. I'm at my happy place. I'm like, this is where I want to be. And then when that energy hit me, and it just, and I had that moment while on the roller coaster, and I just paused, and I'm like, it just made it clear to me what the way that I felt, about that certain person. Right?
You heard your heart.
Yeah. And I mean, just like you said, like I was on top of the world,
You
in a
thought
sense.
you were.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that happened, and I was like, it was like a Zach and Cody moment. The show Zach and Cody.
No.
Oh, okay. It was like a Jimmy Neutron moment. No? Okay.
But I do know what you mean, though.
Yeah, we're like Jimmy Neutron. He has like these things in his mind, and then it shows you through his mind, and then it shows another event that's like going on, and it was like that. It was like I went to another like reality.
Well, you were finally aware
Yeah.
of what your heart was telling you.
Yeah.
But you were ignoring it because you thought you were doing something that your heart was telling you to do. but did you tune in before you did the event? Or did you just go with what you thought was best?
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a great way to put it. But I knew I was like, because when we first met, I was like, this is a lot, but I've grown a lot. Before meeting you, I was like, I knew I was like, there's a way up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ladder. There's a ladder. JP, you might keep stumbling, but you're gonna keep climbing. And I felt close to that ladder, but I wasn't on that ladder yet. And the reason why I asked you to share about the subconscious, because I know that a lot of people won't find that ladder because it feels out of reach. You want to know why it feels out of reach? Because it's like walking into class as a third grader and your teacher goes, what's the definition of expialidocious or something like that? Or this, this word that you've never heard or seen before, or you can't even put into perspective. So I feel like there's a lot of breaking down and to, the message that, that's going to be shared that will happen naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Because it hit me. It was on my, like, it hit me and I was like, okay. Remember I told you, I was like, I want you to be heard and I want to go through this healing phase and I want to go through this healing stage. And while we're sharing this with people and going through these episodes, I'm also receiving this information as pure as possible from the source.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, for me, I needed this better understanding about the subconscious and about what it means. And I know people listening they're gonna need that same information because they're close to the ladder, but they can't find their footing yet. So, you know what I mean? It's like, and they don't understand. That's like uncharted territory.
Mm.
They won't venture off into that. They want to stay where they feel comfortable. So I felt like that was very important to dive into.
As you're speaking, I'm actually seeing many of them, not just seeing the ladder, some for the very first time, but I'm watching them climb. And they're getting brighter as they climb, and as more climb, more are starting to see the ladder. And as they climb, they get brighter more and more and more. And it's just evolving as we're speaking in this moment. That's what's shown to me.
Wow. How do you want to close this out? How do you feel? What feels right? What feels the right way to close this out today?
What I'm feeling in this moment is when it's safe to do so. To just take a moment, if you can close your eyes, and then just be present with this moment, not expecting anything, not listening for anything, not looking for anything. Just being really present in this moment with whatever is happening. No judgment, no blame. And just to the best of your ability, accepting who you are. Accepting this moment is only a result of where you have been, but not who you are or where you are going. And just allowing yourself to receive whatever energy, information, light, love that feels comfortable for you. And just know that you are exactly where you're meant to be in each moment.
couldn't have done it any better. Thank you guys for being here with us. I'm filled with I feel I don't know. This feeling is like I was nervous, and then I started to calm, and I started to relax, and I was like, the conversations that me and you have without even having a camera in sight, I was like, that's what we need. Mm-hmm. That's the feeling and that's the information that people need. That's the experience that we want people to have. And with this being the first episode, I'm like, I'm happy because I'm close. Like, that's the way I'm feeling right now. And I know it's a journey because I want to get closer and closer to where, it doesn't feel like there's any expectation. Mm-mm. There's no expectation. Mm-mm. There's no expectation at all. It's just being a vessel, and also just being present in the moment, and doing what makes you happy, doing what's on your heart. And that's pure. That's pure to me. Like, I want to be a genuine person. I don't want to fake nothing I do. I don't want to be perceived as anything other than who I am. Mm. As imperfect or as you may be, or that as you may seem, I'm okay with that. So closing out that way, we couldn't have done it any better, and we thank you guys for coming to the first episode and being a part of this journey with us. I would tell you what's next, but what we like to do, and I ask him day in and day out, like, what resonates with you, and we'll figure out what resonates, and I'm pretty sure it'll be on Josh's heart and my heart as well to share with you guys on what we feel is next in this adventure book we would like to call right now. So, anything else?
Yeah, no. I have great love for each and every one of you, and I honor your role in your journey. And for some or many of you, I'm looking forward to actually connecting with you when it feels aligned. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you guys for coming to the first episode. We thank you for being here, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.